The letter came on a Thursday morning, thick and smug-looking, with a golden hole logo embossed right at the top. I didn't even need to open it to know what it was. Another fine, another accusation, another reminder that my new neighbors didn't want me here. But this time, it wasn't just another complaint about my gravel driveway or my non-conforming mailbox. No, this time, the HOA had gone for the jugular. They fined me $70,000 for unauthorized construction and environmental disruption. Apparently, replacing a few old fence posts and clearing the drainage ditch that ran by my property had violated community landscape standards. My jaw clenched as I read it again and again. 70,000. The number mocked me from the page. The HOA president, a woman named Carol, was behind it all. She ran the neighborhood like a queen ruling a petty little kingdom. I'd seen her once when I first moved in, strutting down the street with a clipboard and that artificial smile that never reached her eyes. She had told me, "We like things orderly here. No surprises, no changes, no exceptions." I remember smiling back politely and saying, "Well, I like peace and quiet. Guess we'll both get what we want." But I was wrong. For weeks, Carol and her board sent me notices, warnings, and threats. They didn't like that I used gravel instead of their approved asphalt. They didn't like that my cabin-style home had rural character instead of the modern aesthetic they wanted. The worst part, they tried to say the small private road that ran up to my house was HOA property. That road wasn't just a path up, it was the only road connecting the entire subdivision to the main highway. And that was their first mistake. You see, that narrow road wasn't theirs, it was mine. I bought it with my land, years before they developed their manicured little community down the hill. The developers had overlooked that the easement agreement didn't transfer ownership up, it only allowed shared use. I'd even confirmed it with the county records when I bought the place. I never said anything because I never thought I'd need to. Until now. When Carol's $70,000 fine came, I'd had enough. I called her. "Carol," I said calmly, "you might want to double-check your records before sending legal threats. I think you've made a serious mistake." She laughed in that condescending tone that could scrap paint off walls. "Oh, I don't think so, Mr. Reed. You've repeatedly violated our rules. You'll either pay the fine or we'll take legal action." "All right then," I replied quietly. "We'll do it your way." A week later, I hired a lawyer, an old friend of mine, Mike, who specialized in property disputes. He looked over everything and just shook his head, grinning. "You've got them, Daniel. Every last one of them. They've been trespassing for years, and they don't even know it." We filed a cease and desist letter with the HOA, informing them that, until further notice, no HOA business or access was allowed on my private road without my written consent. When they ignored it, we put up barriers, just temporary ones at first with clear legal signage. "Private property. No HOA access without permission." The reaction was instant and explosive. Carol stormed down the road in her Lexus, screeching to a stop in front of the gate. She got out, fuming. "You can't block this road. This is HOA property." Mike stood beside me, holding a folder thick with county deeds and maps. "Actually," he said with a calm smile, "it's not. The road is owned by Mr. Reed. Your community has a recorded right of passage, but only if you maintain compliance with the easement terms. And since you've fined and harassed the property owner without cause, that agreement is now in dispute." Carol's face drained of color. She didn't know what to say. Within days, panic spread through the neighborhood. Delivery trucks couldn't get through. Contractors couldn't access homes. Even the garbage pickup stopped because I refused to let unauthorized HOA operations use the road until the legal issue was resolved. People were furious, and not at me, but at their own board for causing the mess. Then came the emergency HOA meeting. They invited me to attend it, probably thinking they could intimidate me into backing down. I walked into their fancy clubhouse, all eyes on me. Carol tried to open the meeting with her usual authority, but I cut her off. "I think we should start by acknowledging something," I said, sliding a document onto the table. "This is the deed for the only access road into your community. It's in my name, and until this matter is resolved, that road remains closed to HOA functions." There was dead silence. Then, murmurs, then outright shouting. Homeowners turned on Carol like wolves. One man slammed his hand on the table. "You mean to tell me this entire neighborhood sits behind the road you don't even own?" Carol stammered something about assumed ownership, but it was over. Her empire crumbled right there in front of everyone. 2 weeks later, their lawyer called me. They dropped the $70,000 fine and issued a formal apology. But I wasn't done yet. I negotiated a new easement agreement, the one that required the HOA to pay an annual maintenance fee for the road and prohibited them from imposing any fines or restrictions on my property ever again. It was completely legal and airtight, and when the ink dried, I made sure every resident had a copy. Funny thing, after that, Carol resigned, apparently, for personal reasons. The new HOA president came by soon after, a kind man named George, who shook my hand and said, "Mr. Reed, I think we got off on the wrong foot. Let's make sure that road stays smooth from now on." I smiled. That's all I ever wanted. Now, when I drive down that road every morning, the gravel crunches under my tires like a quiet victory song. The same road they tried to control is now the one they pay me to maintain. And every time I pass the old HOA sign that once made me feel small and unwelcome, I can't help but think sometimes, the best revenge isn't anger or payback. It's simply owning the ground they stand on.